The old man spoke again. Listen, you've got to imagine it with your own power. Use all the wisdom you have and picture it. A circle that has many centers but no circumference. If you put in such an intense effort that you feel like you're sweating blood, that's when it gradually becomes clear what the circle is. It sounds difficult, I said. Of course it is, the old man said, sounding as if he were spitting out something hard. There's nothing worth getting in this world that you can get easily. Then, as if starting a new paragraph, he briefly cleared his throat. But when you put it in that much time and effort, if you do achieve that difficult thing, it becomes the cream of your life. Cream? In French, they have an expression, crème de la crème. Do you know it? I don't, I said. I knew no French. The cream of the cream. It means the best of the best, the most important essence of life. That's what crème de la crème. Get it? The rest is just boring and worthless. At the time, I didn't really understand what the old man was getting at. Crème de la crème? Think about it, the old man said. Close your eyes again and think it all through. A circle that has many centers but no circumference. Your brain is made to think about difficult things, to help you get to a point where you understand something that you didn't understand at first. You can't be lazy or neglectful. Right now is a crucial time because this is the period when your brain and your heart form and solidify. I closed my eyes again and tried to picture that circle. I don't want to be lazy or neglectful. I tried to think of a circle with many centers but no circumference. But no matter how seriously I thought about what the man was saying, it was impossible for me at the time to grasp the meaning of it. The circles I knew had one center and a curved circumference connecting points that were equidistant from it. The kind of simple figure that you can draw with a compass. Wasn't the kind of circle the old man was talking about the opposite of a circle? I didn't think that the old man was off mentally, and I didn't think that he was teasing me. He wanted to convey something important. That much I can get for some reason. So I tried again to understand, but my mind just spun around and around, making no progress. How could a circle that had many or perhaps an infinite number of centers exist as a circle? Was this some advanced philosophical metaphor? I gave up and opened my eyes. I needed more clues, but the old man wasn't there anymore. I looked around, but there was no sign of anyone in the park. It was as if he never existed. Was I imagining things? No, of course it wasn't some fantasy. He'd been right there in front of me, tightly gripping his umbrella, speaking quietly, posing a strange question, and then he'd left. I realized that my breathing was back to normal, calm and steady. The rushing current was gone. Here and there, gaps had started to appear in the thick layer of clouds above the harbor. A ray of light had broken through, illuminating an aluminum housing on top of a crane, as if it had been accurately aiming at one spot. I stared for a long while, transfixed by the almost mythic scene. The small banquet of red flowers wrapped in cellophane was beside me, like a kind of proof of all the strange things that had happened to me that day. I debated what to do with it, and ended up leaving it on the bench by the arbor. To me, that seemed the best option. I stood up and headed towards the bus stop where I'd gone off earlier. The wind had started blowing, scattering the stagnant clouds above. After I finished telling this story, there was a pause. Then, my younger friend said, "I don't really get it. What actually happened then? Was there some intention of principle at work? Those very odd circumstances I experienced on top of that mountain in Kobe on a Sunday afternoon in late autumn, following the directions on the invitation to where the recital was supposed to take place, only to discover that the building was deserted. What did it all mean? And why did it happen?" That was what my friend was asking. Perfectly natural questions, especially because the story I was telling him didn't reach any conclusion. "I don't understand it myself, even now," I admitted. "It was permanently unsolved, like some accident riddle. What took place that day was incomprehensible, inexplicable, and at 18 it left me bewildered and mystified. So much so that for a moment I nearly lost my way. But I get the feeling," I said, "that principle or intention wasn't really the issue." My friend looked confused. "Are you telling me that there's no need to know what it was all about?" I nodded. "But if it were me," he said, "I'd be bothered no end. I'd want to know the truth. Why something like that happened. If I'd been in your shoes, that is." "Yeah, of course. Back then it bothered me too. A lot. It hurt me too. But thinking about it later, from a distance, after time had passed, it came to feel insignificant, not worth getting upset about. I felt as though it had nothing to do with the cream of life." "The cream of life?" he repeated. "Things like this happen sometimes in our lives," I told him. "Inexplicable, illogical events that nevertheless are deeply disturbing. I guess we need to not think about them. Just close our eyes and get through them. As if we were passing under a huge wave." My younger friend was quiet for a time, considering that huge wave. He was an experienced surfer, and there were a lot of things, serious things, that he had to consider when it came to waves. Finally, he spoke. "But nothing about anything might also be pretty hard." "You're right. It might be hard indeed. There's nothing worth getting in this world that you can get easily," the old man had said with unshakable conviction. Like Pythagoras explaining his theorem about that circle with many centers but no circumference? My friend asked. Did you ever find an answer? Good question, I said. I slowly shook my head. Had I? In my life, whenever an inexplicable, illogical, disturbing event takes place, I'm not saying that it happens often, but it has a few times. I always come back to that circle, the circle with many centers but no circumference. And as I did when I was 18, on that arbor bench, I closed my eyes and listened to the beating of my heart. Sometimes I feel that I can sort of grasp what the circle is on a deeper understanding eludes me. But a deeper understanding eludes me. This happens again and again. This circle is most likely not a circle with a concrete actual form, but rather one that exists only within our minds. That's what I think. When we truly love somebody with all our heart, or feel deep compassion, or have an idealistic sense of how the world should be, or when we discover faith, or something close to faith, that's when we understand the circle as a given, accept it in our hearts. Admittedly, though, this is nothing more than my own vague attempt to reason it out. Your brain is made to think about difficult things, to help you get to a point where you understand something that you don't understand at first. And that becomes the cream of your life. The rest is boring and worthless. That was what the gray-haired old man taught me. On a cloudy Sunday afternoon in late autumn, on top of a mountain in Kobe, as I clutched a small bouquet of red flowers. And even now, whenever something disturbing happens to me, I ponder again that special circle, and the boring and the worthless, and the unique cream that must be there deep inside me. And that ends the first story.